Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Robin, and today we are going to make a quick and easy bucket hat. I'm going to use cotton yarn in a DK weight and a 4mm crochet hook. Gauge doesn't matter. Type of yarn doesn't matter. Your hook size doesn't matter. You're gonna do it in inches. You know, like the first thing you want to do is measure the crown of your head. In my case, we're going to do about 6.5 inches, and then the sides of the hat is going to be between 3.5 and 4 inches. And then the brim of the hat will be between 2 and 2.5 inches. So I chose cotton yarn because it's good for warm weather, warm weather. So like for the spring and the summer, it can be used. So the first thing that we need to do is make our slip knot. And we're going to chain 3, and don't be super tight with this. It's 1, 2, 3. And then in the very first chain, all the way over here by your slip knot, you're going to make 10 double crochets, all in the same space. One, yarn over, slip it through, yarn over again, pull that through, you have 3, pull through 2, pull through 2. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then we are going to make a slip knot to connect our circle. Okay, so the second row is all an increase row, round. It would be a round because we're making a circle. It's all an increase. So every single stitch, you have 2 double crochets. So when you get all the way around to the other side, you should have 20. So you chain 2, and that's 1, 2, next stitch, 1, 2, next stitch, 1, 2, and so on all the way around. And we end each round with a slip stitch to close the circle. So I will meet you back when I get all the way around. Okay, so I've made it all the way around, and I've done my slip stitch to connect it and close it. And if you count, you should have 20 stitches. If you don't have 20, you made a mistake somewhere, and you might want to pull it out, and start over to make sure you end up with 20. So the third round, we're going to chain 2, and every other stitch or every second stitch is our increase. So we would do a single, and then in the next stitch, 2 doubles. And then 1 single double, and then 2. Then 1 and 2 in the next. So you do that all the way around, and you're going to end your row again by slip stitching to the top stitch of the first double crochet here, and you should have 30 stitches. And I will meet you back when I make it all the way around. Okay, so I've completed round 3, and for round 4, we're going to have an increase in every third stitch. So we chain 2, make 1 double, next stitch 1 double, third stitch we're going to put 2 doubles, 1 and 2, then 1 double, next stitch 1 double, so that's 2, third stitch gets 2 doubles, one, third stitch we get 2. And the increase is so that it lays flat. Okay, so you can do that all the way around. And every round should end with the last stitch being an increased stitch. If it isn't, then you've messed up somewhere, like I did in my last row. I had to pull it out about halfway out and then, redo it so that you end, your last stitch is an increase. And then you'll slip stitch to the top. And I will meet you back when I make it around. Okay, so round 4 is complete. We're ready to start round 5. And on round 5, every fourth stitch is an increased stitch. So by now you might be noticing a pattern here. So every new row, for example, row 5, you'd take 1 minus 1 would make it 4. So every fourth stitch is an increase. Row 6 minus 1 would be 5. So every fifth stitch is an increased stitch. And it just keeps growing like that until you've reached your desired measurement. So I'm going for, like I said, about 6.5 inches. And I am at, get the right end of the tape here, I'm at 3.5 with 4 rows. So I either have 3 or 4 more rows to make. We'll see. So for row 5, you chain 2, double crochet in that first space. So that's 1, 2, 3, and we're at our 4th stitch. We do our increase here, which is 2 double crochets in the same space. We start over with 1, 2, 3, oops, and here's our 4th stitch, so we put 2 double crochets in the same space for our increase. Okay, so you finish that round, make sure you end with an increase, slip stitch to the top chain of the next row to close the circle, and I will meet you back when my round is complete. Okay, so now I'm ready for round 6. And that, again, it'll be every 5th stitch will be your increase. So you'd go 1 single, 1 single, 1 single, 1 single, get to your 5th, and there's 2. When I say single, I mean double crochet. Okay, so 1 double, 1 double, 1 double, 1 double, 5th stitch, 2 doubles. And you do that for round 6. I'm going to, off camera, work this till I get to my 6.5 inches. And each time, with each row count, like when I get to row 7, it'll be every 6th stitch that gets the increase. So for you, depending on the type of yarn you use, the size of your hook will depend on how many rounds that you need to get to your desired length, width, diameter, till you get to however big you want your circle. So I'm going to do mine, you do yours, and then meet me back and we'll work on the sides. Okay, so after 8 rounds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I'm at 7 inches. And I wanted to be about 6.5, but I'd rather have it a little loose than too small. So now we're going to start working on our sides. And since we had 8 rounds, I should have 80 stitches on here, because we started with 10 and we increased by 10 with each row. So to start the sides, it's a little different. There are no increases on this. We're going to chain 2, and we're going to do 1 double crochet in each stitch all the way around using only the back loop of the V. If you look at the V, you can see a front and a back. And you want to only do the back. And that's going to help it turn to where it stands up, kind of like a basket. So back loop only. All the way around. Double crochet. One thing about cotton yarn is it doesn't glide across the hook as easily as some of the others, like the acrylic, and it has more friction against itself, so it makes it a little tougher. Okay, so take this out of there. See how that's starting to stand up? Okay, so you're going to do that all the way around. And when you get to the end, you're going to connect with a slip stitch. And I will meet you back when I make it all the way around. Okay, so I made it all the way around with my first side or middle, however you want to call it, row around. And when we get to the second one, we're going to chain 2, and we're going to go back to the normal, typical double crochet where you go through both of the loops. Okay, so just a regular old double crochet. You're going to do that in every stitch all the way around. And I'm going to do this row and one more, this round and one more round, and see what my measurement is, if I've got enough space to add my decorative band yet. So I'm not sure if I'm going to do 3 rows or 4 rows. So I'm going to do this one and one more, where you double crochet through both sides of the chain, the front and the back loop, all the way around, connect with a slip stitch, chain 2, and double crochet all the way around again. And then we will see where we're at. So I will meet you back when I am completed with that. Okay, so I've done 3 rows, and I've got 1.5 inches. So now I want to bring in my other color for my decorative stripe. I'm going to use this very pretty bright yellow. So I did my slip knot. I want to chain 1 and pull it through to tighten that off. Okay. And whoops. We're going to put a slip knot in the yellow. And bring this onto here. Okay, and we're going to do 1 round of single crochet, and then the pretty happens. So single, we should still have 80 stitches. So we're just going to do our single all the way around. 1 in each stitch, no increase, and I'll meet you back when I make it all the way around. Okay, so I've made it all the way around with my single crochet of my nice bright yellow. Now we're going to do a star stitch all the way around. The first one is the trickiest, and after that it gets a lot easier. So we want to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to, in our chain, we're going to work in all 3 loops. So this is why it's tricky, that top one, because we just pulled through. You know, if you stick your hook back in there, it's just going to come undone. So we're going to come into this back bump. Maybe. Loosen that up just a little bit. Alright, so we're going to come into the back bump and pull our working yarn through and leave 2 loops on our hook. Then we're going to come into the next chain, pull our working yarn through, and now we have 3. The bottom chain, same thing, pull it through, we have 4. Now we're going to go into the next 2 single crochets, both loops, pull through, we have 5. Next one, pull through, we have 6. Now we're going to yarn over and pull through all 6 of those loops. And then make a chain. Alright, so this one is a little easier. You're going to go through this loop here that's holding all those together. That's 1. Then we're going to go through the back loop of the last stitch. That's 2. Then we go into this part, which was the last stitch we worked into on the previous row. That's 3. And then the next 2, 4 and 5. And we have 6 loops on our hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We pull through and make a chain. Okay, so we go into that stitch right there. We have 2 on our hook. The back stitch of the last loop that we did. Then down here into the last single crochet of the previous row that we worked in. We have 4, and then the next 2, 5 and 6. And we pull through all 6 loops and make a chain. Through that circle, the chain that's holding them all together, gives us 2, the back stitch of the last stitch we did, 3, 4 is down here, 5 and 6. Pull through all of them and a chain. See how we got this little star pattern going? So I'll read you the instructions that's in the Stitch Dictionary. So this is what they call a 5-loop star. Pull the first loop through around the horizontal strand of the chain on the back of the work. This is the strand that holds the loops of the star together. For the second loop, insert the hook from the back into the last loop of the previously worked star and pull the working yarn through. Pull the third loop through the last insertion point of the previously worked star. Pull the 4th and 5th loops through the next 2 stitches on the previous row. Draw the working yarn through all 6 loops on the hook at once. That's the directions for that stitch out of the Stitch Dictionary. All right, so let me show you one more time. We're going to go through this, pull our working yarn through the back loop of the last stitch of the star. Believe it or not, this light and the yellow, it's hard for me to see. Okay, that's better. Okay, so now we have 3. Then down here of the previous row, the last one we worked in, that's 4, 5, 6. Then we're going to pull our working yarn through all of them, make that chain. Through the chain loop, that gives us 2. The back of this one, that's 3. This last stitch we worked into, that's 4. And then the next 2, that's 5. And 6. 2, 4, 6. And we pull through all of them at once, make a chain stitch. Okay, so you can do that all the way around, and then when you get to the last part, you're gonna slip stitch it to close the round. Okay, and I'll meet you back when I'm done. Okay, so I've completed my star stitch all the way around, slip stitched to my beginning, and chained 1. Now we're going to do another round of single crochet. And when you look at this, you have a small stitch and a big stitch. You need a single to go into each one of those, the big ones, the small ones, the big ones, the small ones, the big ones, the small ones, all the way around, and then slip stitch the 2 ends together so that it completes the round. So just like this, into the big, into the small, into the big, into the small. Okay, all the way around, and I'll meet you when I get back to the other end and complete my round. So I've completed my single all the way around, and now I'm going to go back to my white, and I'm going to do 3 rows of double crochet, 80 stitches around, and then we will be on the next phase, and it will be the brim. Now for what you're working on, you do as many rows as you need to make it your desired length. Because remember, you're doing it by measurement, not by how many rows. So I'm going to reattach my white. With the chain 2, and double crochet all the way around for 3 more rows. And when I complete that, I will meet you here, and I'll show you how to do the brim of the hat. All right, I'll see you in a few minutes. Okay, so I've completed those 3 rounds, and now it's time. Well, first let me show you. Doesn't that look so pretty? So these 3 rows, for me, with the type of yarn and the size hook that I am using, equals about 1.5 inches. Then this is about 3/4 of an inch. And then we have another 1.5 inches. So we are at, what's the edge there? Three and 3/4 of an inch, which looks like a pretty good size. So we're going to start the brim. In this, we're going to do a double crochet. So we're going to chain 2, and now we need the hat to bend the opposite direction of this. So we're going to do all of these double crochets in the front loop only of this V. So you got your front and you got your back. So we're just going to pick up the front loop for just this row only. It's also because we need to continue to work out in the circle. It's also an increase round. So we did 8 rows here. This would be row number 9. So that means that every 8th stitch is going to be our increase stitch. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, which is our increase. So 2 stitches go in there. And then the count starts all over again. So you're going to go all the way around with this. Like I said, mine is about 1/2 inch. So all the way around, connect, move up to the next round. And that one is a no increase round. So just the 90 stitches around. Then up to your next one, which becomes an increase round. And it would be round 10. So that means your 9th stitch is your increase stitch all the way around. Then you're going to do a 4th row, which is no increase. And then your final row of the white will be another increase stitch, which would be row 11. So every 10th stitch is your increase. So I'll pop back on and show you some progress as I get a few rows worked up. But in the meantime, you work your row around. This is row 9. Every 8th stitch is the increase. And I'll meet you when I complete. Okay, so I finished that round, which was an increase round, that we're calling round 9. So now we're going to do a regular double crochet round with no increase. So we chain 2 and double into both loops. All the rest of the rows are in both loops. So we go all the way around. We should have 90 stitches this time because that was round 9. And when we finish this one, we should end with 90 stitches. The next round will be round 10. So every 9th stitch is an increase. The one after that is a no increase row. And then our final, or my final, will be row 11 increase. So every 10th stitch will be an increase. So when I get to that point, I will come back and show you, and then we're going to add a little border to the edge of the rim of the hat. All right, so I will meet you back when I am done. Okay, so I did my 5 rows for the brim of the hat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now my last thing, other than taking care of my ends, is I'm going to do a trim edge of just a single crochet all the way around in every stitch, both loops, front and back, and tie off my ends, and then we'll get to see what it looks like. So you can do this part or you can skip this part. Choice is totally yours. So I will finish this round and I will see you when I am finished. Okay, all finished. Nice little curl. It's the top. A little star stitch band. Looks pretty good, even if I do say so myself. Okay. So, if you unroll the band, that's how it looks. If you don't want it to have the curl like that, then each row on why do I struggle with that? Each row on the brim, make it an increase row instead of every other row. So, there we go. Thank you for the privilege of your time, and I hope you come back and share your crochet journey with me.